everyone. I hope you are fine. I hope you are doing well. And I will appreciate if you can just smash that subscribe button, that like button, like never before. Some people are describing GNU as a breakthrough, as a key to success, as a game changer, as something that people should believe in. And we cannot exclude the pastors as well because they are also talking about GNU as a unifier. But I came across this video and Mr. Mapaila is describing GNU as a sellout, as a betrayal, and as a political deal. What do you think?
It's a gross error, serious mistake. And I believe it's a political choice. Because there were other possibilities for the ANC not to collaborate with the DA. Because the DA doesn't represent any iota of the interests of the majority of our people. It's a party of white interest, of the white minority. It has inherited the colonial regime's interest, the imperialist regime's interest, the apartheid regime's interest. It is not intended by any measure to bring our country together and to build a united South Africa. It just wants the black person to remain subservient to the white person. This is a betrayal, Sizwe. It cannot be entertained in any political decorations. It cannot be laced in any other form. It's a sellout of the people's aspiration. First, they try to justify it even in public. Worse still, they even put advertisements to justify this thing. They could not even put advertisement to talk about what is the intention of the liberation movement. But they put adverts as government through SABC and others. Even on my way here, I was seeing SABC brandishing ministers of this GNU. For the first time, I've seen this. It's a moment that we should reject with the contempt that it deserves, because it's a sellout position. It reverses many gains. It disrespects the sacrifices of many of our comrades and our people who died in combat for the liberation of these people, of our country. Not to sell it out at the political expedience of the elite that just are addicted to political power, to office. And they don't care about the well-being of the people, but political deals. It's a simple political deal.
Some people, if not many people, think GNU is the way to go. But I have a question. What is it that GNU has done so far? For you who is living in townships, if you're living in townships, just tell us, what are the changes? In other words, if you are in favor of this GNU, you can put your views on a comment section and tell us, why do you think GNU is the best? And most importantly, what are the changes that GNU has done in your area? Maybe you have seen people being recruited like never before. Maybe you have seen, maybe in your township, businesses, small businesses being empowered like never before. Maybe you have seen like infrastructure being empowered or being improved like never before. So if it's so, you can just put your views on a comment section, because now we have many people who are like, GNU is doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's like now GNU is on top of the world. GNU is the unifier. GNU is the breakthrough. GNU is the helper. GNU is the hope. What is it that GNU has done so far? Because we know that after elections, 6 months after elections, if we see no changes, then we have to forget. In other words, 2 years will pass by, 3 years will pass by, 4 years will pass by, even 5 years, because there are people right now who are like, we have to give them 2 years, we have to give them 3 years. Just imagine if you give someone 3 years, and without in other words, within these 3 years, you're not expecting to see any changes. In other words, if a government is serious about making changes, they have to start by implementing changes immediately. It's not about like we have to give them, just imagine, 3 years. So within these 3 years, you're not expecting anything. Then in other words, 3 years will pass by, 4 years will pass by, 5 years will pass by. So right now in our communities, we are not seeing anything at all. There are no changes at all. People are still unemployed. People are still poor. Municipalities are not delivering services. In other words, small businesses are not being empowered. So we are used to that. Councillors are not doing anything, even though ANC has performed dismally on these recent elections. But their councillors are still relaxed. They are not doing anything at all. They are untouchable. What is it that GNU has done so far? This is a system. There's a saying that say, if you plan for a year, you have to plant rice. And if you plan maybe for 100 years, you have to plant trees. If you plan for lifetime, you have to educate people. In other words, people should be educated, because there's a tendency whereby the government is robbing us by giving us a wrong information, or by giving people a wrong information. For an example, we have this understanding or this knowledge that if ANC can get out of power, then the elders will no longer get their pension, will no longer be taken care of. They will no longer get RDPs and all those things. But now again, we're being manipulated with another strategy of GNU, that GNU is good, that GNU is the future, that GNU will bring changes in our lives, and etc. and etc. So they do this in order to justify the decision they made. For an example, there's absolutely nothing they can do as long as they don't address the issue of the land. Because if you have 80% of the people who are compressed in small places, there's no way you can empower those people. There's no way you can establish new businesses for those people. There's no way you can restore their dignity and all those things. There's absolutely nothing you can do. You have to address the issue of the land. Now, the issue of the land is the center of everything, whereby people can live by themselves without depending upon government. And this is the reality. It doesn't mean the issue of the land will bring disaster and etc. But they are trying by all means to educate us by giving us this misinformation that this issue of land will destroy the country, this is what is going to happen, and so forth and so forth. Why they are doing this? They are doing this because they don't have interest in the majority of the people of South Africa. They don't have interest at all. No matter what they do, it will never work. There are things that will never work until you have dealt with the root of the problem, or until you have dealt with the source of the problem. I agree with Mr. Mapaila. Is describing GNU as a political deal. Yes, indeed, this is a political deal. So when it comes to this thing of advertisements on radio, on television, and many other mainstream media channels is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. That is why our people need to be educated, because this is a programming. You have to understand this is a programming. That is why I always say these political parties who care about people, they need to make sure that they always talk about these things. They always create like workshops in order to address these things all the time, not only when the elections are close, but it should be a continuous thing, because on the other side, people are being programmed. So that is why now in 2024, I'm no longer listening to these radio stations, especially public radio stations, because they always talk about this GNU thing. In other words, this is the programming of the people. In other words, people are being programmed to think that this is going to do something. Even Tumamina campaign of Cyril Ramaphosa has never been like advertised the way GNU is being advertised. This is embarrassing, because this is the program. Because the moment you listen to a radio and it goes to advert, then they start putting those adverts that GNU is the way to go. GNU is the way to go, and they are targeting these biggest radio stations. They want to program you that we are coming, and they will never come. They will never come. They will only come when the elections are closed and say, give GNU another chance. Give GNU another chance. This is, in other words, you will never see the changes. In other words, if you're seeing changes in your community, in your township right now as you speak, that's good. But if you don't see any changes, let me tell you the truth, you will never see any changes at all. This is just a political deal. So now they are using radio stations and media to calm you down for another 5 years. That is why in my previous video I said it might take 50 years, 100 years, and maybe 200 years if we don't wake up. So that is why it's very important to educate people, because many people now think that if ANC is no longer in government, we will no longer get grant. In other words, our people will no longer get this and that. It's very important to educate your parents. Just educate them. Just tell them that this money is not the ANC money, but this money is from your sons and daughters who pay tax. It's from the companies who pay tax. For example, when you buy something from a store, there's a VAT. In other words, you have paid tax already. In other words, some portion of that money will be used to sustain the elders, to do certain things in your community or in your township, to empower small businesses and many other things. And some of these things are not even happening. So you have to educate the elders that this money comes from the companies that you see in your neighborhood, the companies that you see in your community or in your townships. This money comes from your sons and daughters, because when you check their pay slips, their salary slips, it has deduction. The tax has been deducted. So we should not be fooled. We should not be fooled. So now they are coming up with a different strategy to say now GNU this, GNU that. Now it's a programming. It's a programming. So they're using various platforms, different platforms. They use churches, they use media, they use anything they can do to say, you know what? This is the way to go. This is a breakthrough. But as long as this GNU doesn't address the issue of the land, the injustices, because black people are compressed in small places in their own land. They are not like owning anything. 80% of the land or majority of the land is owned by private companies or minority. And that's a problem.